The European Union holding this emergency meeting today on President Trump's new tariff threats to countries opposing his plan to take over Greenland, including major NATO allies. If the president gains Greenland, it would become the largest land deal in U.S. history, surpassing the Louisiana Purchase, the Mexican cession, and even Alaska. The president maintaining Greenland needs to be part of the United States for national security reasons. The global dispute will likely take center stage this week at the annual World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. President Trump and many European leaders are going to be there in person. Let's welcome to the show Republican Oklahoma Congressman Kevin Hern. He sits on the House Ways and Means Committee. Nice to see you today, Congressman.
So it's great to be with you.
So with this emergency meeting being called by the European Union, it's got the president's decision to up his rhetoric toward Greenland, as we've said, by implementing this 10% tariff on them if they don't go along with things by February the 1st. If we can, I want to set the table for our viewers and share exactly some of the main points that the president is trying to make. If we can go ahead and put up a couple of those full screens. One of those is he says it's a strategic area for us, that we really need this. And if we don't act, then China's going to, or Russia is going to. He also says it's rich in rare earth minerals, which is important for the future of tech. And the area is being eyed by both of those countries, as I said, China and Russia. And the estimated cost to buy Greenland is $700 billion. Now, despite these advantages that Trump's laid out, and he says it's great for shipping routes and things too, but people say he's being a bully, and it's not American to even talk like this. What do you think? Is Trump being a bully here?
Well, I think you need to look at the history of Greenland and the United States and the relationship that's happened over 100 years now. Presidents of the United States, Democrat and Republican, have realized the strategic necessity of having Greenland as part of the United States. If you go back and immediately following World War II, then the folks there in the White House thought that this was something that we really need to look at. In the White House, Roosevelt talked about how strategic it was because of the shipping lanes. So this has always been of concern. It's even more so now when you look at the involvement of China and its cooperation with Russia, or vice versa, as they use the polar ice cap to come across now, the polar routes. And what we know right now, yes, there are American soldiers, American base on Greenland. It's not the size of the landmass, it's the location of the landmass that matters. And we have to do something to protect the eastern seaboard, just like we did the West Coast when we purchased Alaska and made it a state back in the 50s. So this is all about American security. Without national security, you have no nation.
Well, Trump is living up to his nickname. He's given himself the tariff king. He said the tariff is one of the most beautiful words in the dictionary. But when we do talk about tariffs and it's making news and in the headlines here on the world stage, many Americans are thinking about how these tariffs could be impacting inflation and affordability right here at home. We're also approaching the 1 year of President Trump being sworn into office for a second term. And during his campaign, Trump made several promises on lowering costs. Listen here.
I make this pledge to the great people of America. I will end the devastating inflation crisis immediately, bring down interest rates, and lower the cost of energy. We will drill, baby, drill.
So let's take a look at the numbers. Last year, inflation did drop slightly from January to December. And you can see year over year, the price of gas is down, but the cost of electricity on the rise. You can see there's a mix of good and bad here. So what do you say to Americans who are struggling with affordability?
Well, we're certainly feeling the hangover of 4 years of Joe Biden, where inflation over that period of time was almost 25%. And as we learned back when Jimmy Carter had the same scenario and Ronald Reagan took over, it took almost 6 years to do what President Trump and the Republicans in Congress have done in about a year, and that's get our energy crisis that we had, the $5 per gallon gasoline that Biden had created, drawing down hundreds of millions of barrels of oil out of our strategic petroleum reserve, used when we have a global crisis, not when we have a policy crisis like the Biden administration had, that we still need to fill back up with the lower cost oil. We had oil. It was over $80 a barrel. Now it's down around 50. All these things matter. They matter. Energy is a core function of all of our economy. When we did the One Big Beautiful Bill last year, the CBO and all the Ivy League economists said there was no way we could achieve a 2% growth in the economy. They were right. It was 3.8 in the third quarter and 4.3 in the fourth quarter. So we doubled what the Democrat economists said would not occur. So these are all things that really matter. We're getting a lot of inertia. There's a lot of, when you look at these same people now, they're talking about a very robust 2026. What we also need to know is that this is an election year, and regardless if it's an election year or not, what happens in the American people's pockets is important. They're getting ready to see the largest refund in American history because of the one big beautiful bill. We're leaving some $3,000 per person in tax dollars that would have gone back to the United States because of expiring tax code that will now stay in the American people's pocket.
Well,
we still need to work on health care.
Well, with affordability being on the ballot and health care going to be a big topic of conversation in the midterms as well, it's a messaging war between the two parties, and Republicans, it sounds like, have some work to do in some areas on that. And on the campaign trail, Trump, we talked about the economy and talked about immigration a lot. It was issue number 1 and number 2 for a lot of voters. Immigration, big topic on the campaign trail. Listen to some of his promises here.
We're going to have the largest deportation in history.
Oh, well, since the administration implemented its ramped-up immigration enforcement, 2.5 million illegal immigrants have been removed from the country, nearly 2 million self-deporting, and over 600,000 deported by the administration. Now, despite these achievements, though, there's a new poll that's out from The Economist and YouGov, and 46% of Americans are in favor of abolishing ICE as a whole. Why do you think there's this disconnect? It's a big number.
Well, you've seen a lot of things happen in the media. This is something that Tom Homan and team predicted would happen as we started moving the illegal immigrants, and many are not from Mexico, by the way. 106 countries around the world came across the southern border under Joe Biden, over 10 million that we know of for sure. And now we're down to around 300 a day illegal crossings. And you compare this back to December of 23 when 300,000 crossed in that month. So, these are all numbers that are just, devastating. It's amazing to me that we have states that want, and cities and governors and mayors that want to help see crime lowered. But then we have others like Chicago, where it has the highest crime rate, most murders in America, that don't want any help. And so, this is politics over safety. The president wants America to be safe again. He wants cities to be safe, whether they're Democrat, blue states, or whatever. And he's willing to help. But if they're going to turn him away, then he's going to let them continue to kill each other. And that's really sad for those citizens there when you have a president who wants to help, but a Democrat governor and a Democrat mayor that doesn't.
When Tom Homan, now our borders czar, and President Trump, before they were even in their post, people were saying there's no way they're going to be able to seal the border, and both Trump and Homan said that's going to be the easy part, and they have done a great job doing that, and we knew the images would be ugly.
By the way, they didn't change anything. As President Trump said at the State of the Union last year, all you needed was a new president. The laws have been in place. All they needed to be done was be executed. And that's what we're seeing now, the laws being executed and people being sent back. And that's when you take away the carrot, so to speak, to come here and be able to stay illegally, as what the president's doing now, along with Tom Homan and others, people will quit coming from all over the world, from China and from the Middle East and elsewhere, that want to hurt us. And so we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to support the president.
Thank you for weighing in. Republican Oklahoma Congressman Kevin Hern. Hope you'll come back.
Thank you.